The annual Catholic Appeal is the love of Christ in action. Your generous donations provide hot meals, warm clothes, comfort, healing, and light in what can sometimes be a person's darkest hour. Jesus gives himself to us in the Eucharist, and we are to receive him and take him out into the world to transform the world. Be a part of that transformation by supporting the annual Catholic Appeal.
Please consider supporting the 2022 annual Catholic Appeal.
Coming up on this best of edition of Reel to Reel, shining a spotlight on our local food pantries, all being helped by annual Catholic Appeal funding. Steve Kiltonic brings us these special stories. It's coming your way next on Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to this best of edition of Reel to Reel. Today's program takes a look at annual Catholic Appeal funded programs serving those facing food insecurity in all 4 counties of Western Massachusetts. Each segment was produced by Steve Kiltonic and ran earlier in 2022. Food insecurity in the United States has skyrocketed since the beginning of the pandemic, making it difficult for many food agencies to keep up with the increased demand. First, Steve visited the Gray House in Springfield, where this nonprofit agency is serving one of the poorest areas in the city and in the state.
From 2020 to 2022, many agencies across Western Massachusetts experienced an increased food demand, while at the same time having to cope with COVID-19, then the Delta variant, and more recently, the Omicron surge. According to the nonprofit Feeding America, 42 million people in the U.S., including 13 million children, likely experienced food insecurity in 2021. The national trend was reflected in the Springfield Diocese at 4 well-established food ministries, all of which receive funding from the annual Catholic Appeal, or ACA. A place where peace is lived and learned and hope is shared is the mission of the Gray House, which has been distributing food in Springfield's North End since it opened nearly 40 years ago by 4 Sisters of St. Joseph. Here, 45% of the residents live below the poverty line, which is 4 times the statewide average. The Gray House experienced a sharp increase in food demand in 2019, with those already struggling before the pandemic. Now, many new individuals and families on a limited or fixed income are showing up to receive food for the first time. Kristen McClintock, the Gray House's executive director, said the Gray House sees on average over 300 separate households come through its line during a 3-hour span. Job loss was a big factor in the increase among new families. And McClintock adds, food is one of the things people with limited funds trim first to pay for rent, gas, clothing, or their unexpected visit to the ER. For seniors, prescriptions are a priority.
But all of a sudden they found themselves without a job, without enough of a safety net to really catch them. And, they can only go so long on savings before it dwindles and you have bare cupboards, empty refrigerators, and you have kids asking what's for dinner and you don't have an answer.
In 2021, over 56,000 duplicate individuals were served through the market at Gray House every month. That's a 185% increase since before the pandemic began in 2019. During the pandemic, the Gray House transitioned its food program from an interior to a no-contact curbside model. Clients previously waited outside the pantry doors in the cold, snow, or rain, which created chaos in the small parking lot.
It might not look like a lot to most people, but this has been like a dream come true for us.
McClintock is talking about the Gray House's brand new heated pantry building constructed last year. Called the Outdoor Market, the house doubled the original pantry space and simplify the whole food distribution process, making it seamless and safer for everyone.
It keeps our volunteers nice and safe as they're bagging and sorting. They're separated, which is great because that's really important right now. It keeps all the food close to where we're distributing. So we have freezers to keep all the perishable items nice and cold and safe until we can give those out to the community members. And it just makes our volunteers' job a lot easier. It's only a few steps from where we're serving.
Volunteers begin to prep food and bag on Wednesday as well as on the day of distribution, which runs every Thursday from 9 a.m. until 12 noon. It's all made possible by the hundreds of volunteers throughout the year. In addition to the regular volunteers, today students from the UMass Nursing program are helping out as part of their community service for the spring semester.
On any given distribution day, we might have 10 to 20 volunteers bagging, sorting, out there distributing to families, running back and forth to make sure our supplies are refilled as needed. So we really, really rely on them, and they are an amazing group of people from all walks of life and who care so much about what we're doing.
McClintock said food comes from several agencies in the community, and a variety is given out to create a balanced menu.
We'll have protein, things like beans and rice, peanut butter, fresh meat. We always try to include produce if we're able, so we work really closely with the Food Bank of Western Mass and other agencies like Loving Spoonfuls and Rachel's Table, and they provide us with rescued food from local area grocery stores.
And the ACA also figures prominently in the Gray House budget.
Support from like the Catholic Appeal, that's been instrumental in helping us not only to kind of meet that increased need, but also to expand our services, because we are seeing pockets of vulnerable populations which we know we need to better serve. So individuals like senior citizens and veterans, migrants and refugees.
The curbside process is quick and efficient in handling all the families and keeping the line moving. IDs are not required. First-time visitors need to fill out only an intake form for basic information required for the food bank and the USDA. Individuals walking to the market have a separate waiting line.
One of our goals for this upcoming year is to increase our free choice, so allowing people to have a little more option on what they decide to pick and what they can have for food.
But McClintock added that she hopes this spring will see a farmer's market-style table offering fresh produce.
We work with, again, local farms, and if they have leftover produce, they bring them to us, and then the community members can come and just kind of pick and choose like you would at a farmer's market, which is really nice.
She said the only silver lining during the pandemic was discovering a new way of distributing food.
We love this system, and our clients love this system. They've told us time and time again they're waiting less time, they feel like it's more dignified, it's more private, which I think is really important for a lot of people. So going forward, this is the way we're going to operate.
McClintock believes it's important to make everyone feel comfortable.
We're out there, we're greeting them, we want them to know they're welcome here, and we want to provide them with those resources they need so they can succeed.
Next week, in part 2 of our series, we'll feature Lorraine's Soup Kitchen and Pantry, which recently launched a new mobile food pantry in Chicopee. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonick.
Not far from the Gray House, Lorraine's Soup Kitchen and Pantry in Chicopee has been providing food for those in need for more than 3 decades. Late last year, it offered Chicopee residents a new twist on its food distribution method by taking their services on the road. Steve Kiltonick has more now.
To be a resource of food security to the greater Chicopee community by providing access with respect and dignity is the mission of Lorraine's Soup Kitchen and Pantry. For 32 years, through its donors and supporters, Lorraine's has led the fight against food insecurity, which reached unprecedented levels during the past 2 years of the pandemic. Its beginnings go back to 1989 when the Chicopee Soup Kitchen opened. In 2001, it was renamed Lorraine's Soup Kitchen and Pantry in honor of Lorraine Houle, the first and only director of the organization, who served until 2018. Ruben Reyes is the executive director of Lorraine's.
She always made sure to give me a call and just thank me for the work that I'm continuing. And, you know, I would tell her I could never fill her shoes, and that would always give her a laugh.
In 2009, Lorraine's relocated its state-of-the-art facility to Pendexter Avenue. After shutting down during the pandemic, Lorraine's reopened their soup kitchen, which offers free, hot, sit-down meals 5 days a week from 5 to 7 p.m. Lorraine's carry-out meals, started during COVID-19, continues today. Families can receive free groceries at the pantry during the day. A simple non-intake form is all that needs to be filled out to receive food.
For pantry, we could see upwards up to 80 families per day, and then for dinner, we might see up to 50 or 60 families.
The steady increase in pandemic numbers has generated a new group of clients.
We have been seeing our steady increase grow again, and it's not just homeless or low-income families. We're seeing families who make over quite a bit of money in their household who have to utilize a food pantry for the very first time in their life. And we attribute it to people losing their jobs, losing their hours, and also families are now taking in more of their family members.
Murtis Nicholson of Springfield has volunteered at Lorraine's for the past 2 years, cooking and waiting on customers. She's one of the many dedicated volunteers who remain committed to Lorraine's mission.
I love working here.
Why?
I love the atmosphere here. We act like a family when we work here. People are nice, and so we have no problems or anything. So I like working in that type of environment. Giving back to me means helping any way I can to make it more easier for the people to live better and to get food.
Last November, as a result of a $45,000 one-year grant from Theory Wellness, Lorain's launched a new mobile food pantry.
We found that we really struggle getting to the areas of people who don't live near us, who don't live near a grocery store. So our main goal was to try to provide a service to go out into these areas that are considered food deserts.
Volunteers come during the day to prepackage the food in plastic bags, which are then put in bins for distribution. Axel is one of the volunteers who starts loading the truck around 3. The food includes a healthy balance of all the food groups: vegetables, fruits, protein, pasta, peanut butter. The mobile truck operates Monday through Friday, 4 days a week, at 16 separate sites around Chicopee that are considered food deserts.
We mapped out locations that were at least 2 miles away from a local grocery store, and we wanted to select those areas as our main focal point.
The sites include large housing projects on Broadway and Meeting House Road, elderly housing like Fairhaven and Elderberry, along with the St. Stanislaus School parking lot. On this January afternoon, the truck pulls into the Memorial Avenue apartment complex. Any Chicopee resident can receive food by filling out an initial form with proof of residency. Because the program is still fairly new, Lorain's hopes news about the mobile pantry will spread by word of mouth. Depending upon the regular attendance and feedback from each site, adjustments may be made for future locations.
Right now, since it's, again, still building, we're seeing between 20 to 30 families per night. Some of these families are larger. I mean, these are families of 9, 8, and although you might hear the number 20, we're really serving a whole household of individuals who are in need of services. So we designated several of our sites to go to senior housing to make sure that that demographic is not forgotten in this expedition.
Reyes said a goal is to get families to try foods they're not necessarily accustomed to.
One of our main objectives was to try to bring more nutrition into the community, so we wanted to emphasize on introducing new types of produce, new types of veggies, and also from time to time we'll include little recipes so people know what to do with a rhubarb.
Thus far, reaction from the public to the mobile pantry has been very positive.
They're very grateful. People are very happy, and they're appreciative that not only are they getting the canned and the boxed goods, but they're also getting fresh produce, and they're getting fresh dairy and things that you typically can't get at a corner store.
Reyes hopes Lorain's can help dispel any stereotypes about those who receive food assistance.
Lorain's is here to help. I hope nobody has a stigma against coming to a soup kitchen and people feel comfortable in these locations. We welcome everyone with open arms, and this is a place where we want people to feel dignified and respected when they're getting their free services.
From Chicopee, we travel to the Berkshires next week as our series continues with a profile of the Lee Food Pantry, which services residents in the hill towns. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
All right.
Along with Lorain's Soup Kitchen and Pantry, more than 40 life-affirming ministries and services benefit from the generosity to the annual Catholic Appeal. We here at Catholic Communications are among the recipients, and we appreciate your support. And still to come on Real to Real, we continue our best of edition of Real to Real with a look at food pantries meeting food insecurity needs in Lee and Holyoke. All still ahead on Real to Real.
Like Catholic TV on Facebook. Once you're there, you can join in on discussions, make friends with other Catholic TV fans, watch behind-the-scenes videos from the studio, and stay up to date with the Catholic world. All this at facebook.com/CatholicTV.
Food insecurity can be found everywhere, even in our more rural counties like the Berkshires. In our third segment, Steve Kiltonick heads west, where he reports on the Lee Food Pantry, which has been a local food resource for more than 30 years.
To respond to human need by loving service is the mission of the Lee Food Pantry. Located on Railroad Street in Lee, the pantry was originally founded 31 years ago as the Community Emergency Needs Resource Center at St. George Church in Lee. Grace Episcopal Church of Great Barrington took over the program in 2013. Funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, the pantry serves the hill towns of Tyringham, Stockbridge, Lee, Lennoxdale, Beckett, and Otis. The pantry is truly ecumenical in nature as 40 volunteers assist in the daily operations. Participating churches include St. Mary Mother of the Church in Lee, Grace Church, St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Stockbridge, the First Congregational Church in Lee, as well as a team from the Lee community. Susan Gurr has been the pantry director and coordinator for 28 years.
We serve all sorts of families, elderly people, people with mental health issues, people with addiction, but we never refuse anybody.
Volunteers stock shelves, make deliveries, and pre-bag the food during the week. The 4 church groups rotate Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. until noon to also bag and distribute food. Prior to the pandemic, all the food was handed out inside the building. Once COVID-19 hit, the number of volunteers was reduced and the building closed. Because of health concerns and restrictions, the pantry was forced to change its distribution to a non-contact drive-by method. Cars lined up, and all the food was brought outside to the clients.
COVID also brought us milk, eggs, and butter on a Saturday. That wasn't before COVID. People have been very generous during the COVID months.
Gore said the pantry has been serving on average 40 to 45 households each Saturday, which has remained steady during the pandemic. Today, the crew from St. Mary's is prepared for the elements and their spirits are high. But on this bitter January morning, attendance outside is lower than expected.
Today it's wind chill minus 20 degrees, so I'd be surprised. You're not going to have your walk-ups, I don't think.
A few, however, do show. Makedi Fall is one of the Saturday regulars. Fall, from the West African nation of Senegal, lives in Lee where he's working on his master's thesis at Brandeis.
A friend of mine told me about it some 2 months ago, and I came in here and it was well organized and the service is good and people are welcoming, so I say, yeah, why not come on Saturday morning?
Makedi comes for himself and his partner.
There's something that we can have, we are having to worry about, like basic necessities in this time of COVID, so that helps a lot.
The food everyone receives are from all the main food groups.
Cereal, oatmeal, then we go down to the peanut butter and jelly, then we have the whole pasta section, spaghetti sauce, and canned tomato section. Beans, all sorts of beans. We do canned soups. Hearty soups are best. The rice, the potatoes. Canned meats would consist of canned chicken, tuna fish. We even get luncheon meat, in the can. Spam, spam in the can.
Other foods include baked goods, brownie and cake mix, macaroni and cheese, along with fresh fruit and vegetables. Essentials like toothpaste, shampoo, toilet paper, diapers, and personal hygiene items are given out according to family size. Even dog and cat food is available to pet lovers who are struggling thanks to Irie's Pet Food Pantry. Lori Kaperik started volunteering on a Thanksgiving Day over 10.5 years ago.
I just get great satisfaction in helping other people feel good about themselves and just to have this service in the community to help the people that are struggling.
Kaperik says she gets to know many of her clients on a more personal level.
You build a repertoire with them and you look forward to seeing them, and you're part of things that happen in their life, big, small, or indifferent, but we're kind of like a cheering team for them and they are for us. It's a pretty special thing to be able to do this.
Paula Miller has been involved in the program for over a year after she brought her St. Mary's confirmation class to the pantry.
It's pretty satisfying to be able to help people, and you become kind of their friends when you come and see them every 4 weeks. You kind of look out for them if you don't see them.
Take care of yourself. Bye.
I think it's kind of God's way of helping others. You're like angels on earth.
Kyle Oliva is here for the first time with his mother. Why did you decide to come down?
because I love helping people out, and this seemed pretty fun to do, so I started doing it, and yeah.
And how's the experience today?
It's really fun.
Hello. Good, how are you?
Gore enjoys working at the pantry because she feels she can have an impact in ways beyond food.
We deal with a lot of mental health issues also, every community does. Giving a little light to somebody, knowing that there's help out there. I always try to remind people it's temporary. Whatever you're going through, we pray that it's temporary and things will get better.
As Gore approaches 3 decades of service at the pantry, she explains her motivation.
There's an adrenaline, there's endorphins that are released when people do good things for people. When you're doing for others, you're going to feel better about yourself.
Gore and the volunteers at the Lee Food Pantry have given out food over the years through summer heat, winter chill, and now during an historic pandemic. They're true angels on earth to those who have witnessed their generosity and compassion.
All right.
Next week, in our final look at ACA-funded food pantries in the diocese, we'll visit Providence Ministries in Holyoke, which has distributed food at Kate's Kitchen and Margaret's Pantry for nearly 4 decades. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonick.
For our final stop today, Steve Kiltonick visits Providence Ministries for the Needy in Holyoke. This agency, a fixture in the city for more than 4 decades, provides life's basic needs, clothing, shelter, and food through Kate's Kitchen and Margaret's Pantry.
Nourishing hope, rebuilding lives is the phrase that describes the mission of Providence Ministries for the Needy, which operates Kate's Kitchen and Margaret's Pantry. Since 1980, Kate's Kitchen has been serving nutritious noontime meals 7 days a week, 365 days a year to anyone in the community with a no questions asked policy. During the pandemic, food distribution was changed to to-go style bags, which were handed out at the entrance door. Margaret's Pantry, named after its foundress, Sister Margaret McQuarrie, offers free food to families in need from Holyoke and neighboring communities.
We rely very heavily on our community partners and people who support us, like Annual Catholic Appeal, Western Mass Food Bank, and a lot of really generous community members, just regular people that want to make a difference by sending in a check.
According to Adamczyk, the need for food increased dramatically with the onset of the pandemic.
So we serve about 200 people a week on average, can go up to 240 a week through Kate's Kitchen. And we have given out over 1.8 million pounds of food from the food pantry. So those numbers were in the 1.3 million range. And so for us to increase that much shows the need that there is for people to access food.
Kate's Kitchen closed its dining room when COVID hit. It reopened briefly, then was suspended again last April.
And we don't want that to be the case. We don't want anyone to ever have to make a choice between feeding a child or feeding a parent or a spouse or themselves and keeping their electricity on or keeping a roof over their head. So we're trying to fill that gap for people so that they can still have a great quality of life without having to make those decisions that are so hard.
Mike Nowak is the instructor for the Food Works program, which teaches culinary fundamentals to those facing barriers to employment. The goal is to give them the skills needed to get a job.
We rely on the donations of people in the community, as well as the Western Mass Food Bank provides us plenty of great food. We serve a hot meal every day. Today we're doing baked chicken, tomorrow we're doing chop suey. So we do serve a lot of comfort foods here, especially great in the wintertime when people are cold and they just want a nice hot meal to remind them of home.
Food is distributed every day outside the doors from noon until 2, Monday through Friday, with sandwiches served on weekends. With a minimal staff, Kate's relies heavily on its regular volunteer crew, as well as volunteers from Sunshine Village, local businesses, and students from Holyoke. In the kitchen are 2 of the regular staffers, Maribel Gonzalez and Oscar Page, who on this day are cooking up pork and beans. Waiting outside for the meals are various people from the local neighborhoods.
We have a mix of everybody who comes. We have some older people who maybe just don't want to cook for themselves anymore. We've got families in the neighborhood. Maybe they have children. Sometimes they'll come with their children. Sometimes they bring the meals home to them. So it's a mix of everybody.
The meals are packaged ahead of time by volunteers like Albert Fulton, who works here 5 days a week. He lives upstairs in Loretto House, which is an 18-month transitional housing program for men in recovery. Across the parking lot is Margaret's Pantry. Brenda LaMagdalene has been the pantry manager for 16 years. Margaret's is a full-service pantry that provides food to residents of the greater Holyoke area, except for Springfield. Throughout the pandemic, Margaret's Pantry remained open. As with Kate's Kitchen, the number of people visiting the pantry skyrocketed.
Astronomical. The numbers have, they slowed down a little bit since when the COVID first hit us last year, but our numbers are still maintaining pretty high numbers.
1.8 million pounds of food was given out by the pantry in 2020. The shelves are fully stocked throughout the year because of the dedicated donors and individuals. When the pandemic started, donations from churches and individuals stopped. But the Western Mass Food Bank, which Brenda said is the backbone of the program, stepped up at a critical time.
Our donors are great. The Western Mass Food Bank is excellent. We're really getting quite a bit of food in. Also, cash donations and check donations. Those are always helpful, too, to be able to buy food.
The pantry is open Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. till noon. There's a simple process to obtain food.
They just need to show proof of address of where they're living, and then proof of having people in the house. And they get about 75 pounds per person per family member.
LaMagdalene is also in charge of the mobile food bank, which travels around Holyoke to distribute food at various sites on the last Saturday of each month. The food bank serves many working families who can't make it downtown to the pantry during the week. Over 300 boxes of assorted food are handed out at each location. Every box contains 50 pounds of food, including meat, produce, and milk when available. And the truck always comes home empty.
I love my community. I love everything that I do. I just like helping people and being there for people when they're in need.
Kate's Kitchen and Margaret's Pantry, two ministries people can always rely on to be there in times of need.
I would love to be able to say that these programs would stop. That would be a phenomenal thing. That would mean everybody had food that needed it, but the reality is there are probably always going to be people in need. And what's important for me and for our staff here is that we find a way to meet that need and that we do it with compassion and with dignity for the people that we're serving. And I think that if we all do that, then you can't lose.
With funding from the annual Catholic Appeal, the food pantries across the Springfield Diocese will continue in their fight to eradicate hunger across Western Massachusetts. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonick.
Thanks to Steve Kiltonick for producing all of these segments for this best of edition of Real to Real. For more information on all of the ministries featured, head over to iobserve.org. And remember, you can help these and 40 other life-affirming ministries and agencies through your gift to the 2022 Annual Catholic Appeal. In making your donation, you can feel confident that it will help your neighbors here in Western Massachusetts. And we here on Real to Real thank you so much in a special way, as we also are recipients of your generosity to the Annual Catholic Appeal. To make your 2022 gift, you can find a secure online donation site at diospringfield.org. You can also call Kathy Harrington to make your gift on the phone. Call 413-452-0630. And we all thank you in advance for your generous gift. Every dollar counts, so please make your donation today. For this week, that's Real to Real. Thank you for watching. As always, for the latest news on the Catholic Church in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world, visit iobserve.org and Facebook at Catholic Communications. And I will see you right back here next week at this same time for another edition of Real to Real, your window on the world around you. See you then.
Real to Real is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.